Okay, magandang hapon po at nandito na naman po tayo sa Barkadahan sa Barangay. Ito po yung lingkod Fred Hover na bumabati sa inyo ngayong alas 4 ng hapon. Okay, at ating pong nais na i-welcome ang ating mga kasama at ngayon po ay excited tayo dahil marami po tayong mga panauhin. Mga panauhin pong medyo kinikilala sa ating kabarangayan, Filipino community. So wag niyo po samahan po ninyo kami at unang-una pong bahagi natin programa ay babatiin natin yung mga may birthday. At yan ang ating naging tradisyon dito sa Barkadahan sa Barangay. Okay, hinihintay na lang natin na mag-log in ang ating The Barkads na Gina Lagat Agustin. Okay, at mukhang malayo kasi ang kinaroroonan nun kaya medyo nagtatagal bago makapag-log in. Taga Morwell pa ho yun. At hopefully nakikinig. So ang ating technical director na si Councilor Walter Villagonzalo ay nandyan lang behind the scene upang umalalay kung meron tayong mga technical issues. So hopefully naman ay napaghandaan nating mabuti itong ating episode ngayong hapon na ito. Unang-una po ay nais tayong nating makiramay sa mga kaparian, mga kapatid at kapamilya ni Father Sonny Ramirez. Kilalang-kilala po yan na pari sa atin sa Pilipinas. Tinatawag nga nila ay the priest to the stars and celebrities kasi paborito yan ng mga celebrities at mga artista. So anong kanyang katanyagan ay naging tinawag din siyang celebrity priest. So ngayon ay kasama na siya ng ating Lord sa itaas. At hopefully pa-entertain niya rin si San Pedro. Okay, God bless Father Sonny Ramirez. We will miss you, but we are glad that you are now happily rested in the kingdom of our Lord. Ngayon naman po, yung meron po mga birthday sa atin, tumawag lang po kayo at o mag-message sa ating Facebook page ng Barkadahan sa Barangay Online. Ayan, nakikita niyo po yan, live na po tayo. So, tignan po ninyo ang inyong mga page at bumati po kayo. Welcome to our new fan or follower, Teresa Pacubas. Ito ay kaibigan din yata ng ating Kapinoy, Arlan Pajardo. At mukhang nasa Pilipinas to. So welcome Teresa Pacubas. Meron tayong mga bagong mga friends na ating nais na i-welcome. Okay. So hinintay na lang natin ang ating Dabarkads na si Gina Lagak Agustin upang mag-log in. Okay. Mukhang napasarap ang tulog ni Dabarkads Gina. Sige. Ito po, patugtog muna tayo uli ng isa pang magandang tugtugin from one of our favorite musician dito sa ating community. Okay. Okay, samantala po, huwag kayong magkatubiling magpadala ng inyong mga greetings sa sa ating Facebook page, comment section. Padala niyo lang po dyan at makikita po natin yan. Alright, so huwag po kayong mahihiya at ipadala niyo yan. Okay, at ito ang ating kaibigan natin na si Gary Kahili. Okay. Teka, Gary Kahili. Pinangako sa atin ay kaibigang Gary na parati siyang mag-contribute ng mga bagong tugtugin. Nothing's gonna change my love for you. Okay, yan po ang kaibigan natin, Gary Kahili. Lagang napaka-entertaining naman ng kanyang mga mga number, ha? Teka. But, medyo napasarap si Gary ng tugtugin. So, tinumunang siya, papahingahin muna. At marami siyang mga numbers na kinontribute sa atin. Okay, thank you very much, Gary Kahili. At ngayon naman po ay batiin natin ang ating technical director, Councilor Walter Villa Gonzalo, at balita natin kung anong nangyayari ngayon dyan sa Western Suburbs. Welcome po, Sir Councilor Walter. Ano po ang latest na nangyayari dyan sa ating mga candidates for local election? Mukhang wala kang microphone na Councilor Walter. Mukhang walang microphone.
Okay na ba?
Hello. Okay. Okay, so welcome po. Latest campaign.
Okay naman, Ka-Fred. Good afternoon sa iyo. Good afternoon sa ating mga kapinoy na nanonood sa atin ngayon. Yung campaign medyo winding down na, dahil marami nang nakaboto, marami nang nakatanggap, at karamihan meron ng mga nagawang desisyon. So ngayon ay ang ginagawa lang natin is nire-remind natin yung mga hindi pa nakaboto na bumuto, at saka i-remind natin.
Okay. Hindi pala pareho yan ng actual na on-site voting na merong deadline, may actual day of voting. So dahil postal voting yan, it is continuing process.
Oo, tama. Dahil postal so makatanggap ang boto sa by mail, and then pipilapan, and then ilagay mo ulit sa mailbox. So ganun ang deadline is mga sa October 23 or 23 ng hapon. So yun, matatanggap. Basta makapost.
Okay. So the candidates can continue or keep campaigning until the end of the voting.
Ganun.
Wala palang deadline. Walang deadline ng campaign period. So just they can keep on campaigning para do sa mga hindi pa nakaboto.
Tama. Ganun yung sitwasyon. So yung mga hindi pa nakaboto, in-encourage natin, fill upan na yung form. Merong yung mga, lalo na yung mga buboto sa may wards na nandun yung mga Filipino candidates natin, ay in-encourage natin bumoto. Tingnan yung Facebook page ng ating candidate, nakalagay doon yung how to vote card.
Nako. Hopefully naman sana walang maraming ballots na ma-invalidate, kasi mukhang maraming makukonfuse na mga voters niyan, dahil medyo pag hindi mo binasang mabuti yung instruction, baka lagyan lang nila number 1 yung gusto nilang kandidato at leave blank yung the rest.
Tama.
Posible nga
yun. Maraming nangyayari lagi dyan every election. Merong mga tinatawag nating informal votes. Yun yung mga invalid na votes, yung mga boto na hindi pwedeng bilangin dahil nagkamali ang pag-fill up. So sundin po natin kung ano ang instruction.
I see. Okay. So bakit walang balak na i-reform ang voting laws, na kung isa lang iboboto mo, yun lang ang gusto mo, di yun lang ang bilangin dapat?
Well, merong mga nag-advocate na ganun ang gagawin, pero yung gobyerno, yun ang kanilang decision na ganun dapat ang pagbilang dapat is yung preferences, yung preference.
Kasi it's got to do with the preferences, kaya kailangan malagyan mo lahat ng numbers. Okay, so
tama.
Pagka yung mga ward,
mahirap
yung
yung
mga
sa ibang
ward
ward. 25 candidates para na councilor. Kina Florence Dato, 38 candidates.
oh
So
my
medyo
God.
writing orders yan. Marami
Right,
masyadong pipila.
the only good thing is at least nasa bahay sila. They have everything, plenty of time na upuan at basahin yung mga ballot boxes, you know. So there's no
Tama.
reason why you can make a mistake dahil everyone is at home now, and that's why nga ginawa na ano ito na postal voting dahil everyone is on lockdown sa bahay. So talagang dapat basahin parang homework sa eskwelahan.
Ganun na nga. So, kaya importante nga talaga na ayusin ang pag-fill up para hindi masasayang yung boto.
I think so. That's the best.
Once every 4 years lang tayo makahalal ng ating mga councilors.
Councilors, yeah, that's right. At ano ko pala, na-discover ko, wala palang tawag dito, wala palang limit ang pagiging councilor. You can run as many times as you like. Or you can be re-elected. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can be re-elected as many times as you like.
Yep, pwedeng for life. Kung gusto mo.
Oh my God.
Ibubuto ka ng tao. Yeah, why not?
Oo. Kaya realize ko yan nung nagkwentuhan kami ni Sam Apra from Greater Dandenong City Council. Meron palang merong mga voter councilors na been sitting there for 16, 20 years. Ha? So talagang almost na yon, meron na sila mga ugat sa city council.
Oo, yung isang aming councilor ditong isa 32 years na yata. So
What?
pwede yun. Pwede. Anytime. Basta qualified, niya, iboboto siya ng tao. Then,
yeah, of course. Dahil kilala na siya. Siyempre, kilala na siya. There's nothing wrong with him, so why change it, 'di ba? 'Yun ang Yun ang mentality ng karamihan ng mga voters, that if it's not broken, why replace it?
Pero sa akin Fred, kasi para sa akin last na itong council elections ko, medyo may edad na tayo, gusto nating mag-retire, but at the same time gusto natin ng fresh ideas. Gusto natin yung mga may sunod. So kaya nga ang ginagawa natin, in-encourage natin yung ibang mga Pilipino na tumakbo. Kaya dito sa ward ko, andyan si Melba Wo. So pwedeng kayang-kaya niya ring gampanan yung posisyon ng council. So yung tinatawag nating succession plan. So pinaplano natin kung sino mga. So meron tayong siyam na kandidato na Pilipino ngayong election na to.
So yung ating mga younger, yung mga natin, yung mga tawag doon, Gen X. Yan ang mga bagay na magtumakbo for council positions, ha? Yung mga Gen X natin, yung mga between 40 to 50 years old. Yan. Tama yan, bagay na bagay. Even maski mga 30 to 50 years old. Yan ang tamang edad. But then again, ang problema niyan is they are busy working for the livelihood of their family. Maybe yung local politics is probably not a priority in their life. So kailangan.
Ang importante nga, yung council would be composed, yung mga councilors sa council ay parang diverse. No, hindi lahat pwedeng retirees. Hindi lahat mga kabataan, kundi mix mga ganon. So kung sa age category, sa age level dapat magkaiba from 18 to 60, 70, ganon mayroong range para yung mga decisions when they are made, they are a result of consensus, yung informed decisions.
So there's still a lot.
Ganun din sa diversity sa race. Kasi nga, kagaya dito sa Windham, almost 50% is migrant. So Sa ngayon, 3 lang yung nakaupo na councilors na from migrant community, but 50%, that's 3 out of 11. So,
Oh, right. So the rest are
di kailangan natin ng
Australian-born.
representation, no? Marami. Hmm.
Dapat
Yep.
merong so
So,
there's still
hindi
there's
naman
still,
lahat. Kundi,
so there's still a lot of reforms
naman,
that needs to be done in the local electoral legislation, local electoral laws, di ba? Kung ganyan ang mangyayari, dapat ma-reform na yan. I think they're slowly reforming it. One very significant reform now is yung one councilor per ward na introduce.
Dito sa Windham ay hindi pa implemented yan. It will be implemented in 2024. Next council election, magiging one councilor per ward na. Dito ngayon, 3 wards pa lang kami. 4 na ward sa dalawang, 4 na councilor sa 2 wards, 3 sa isa.
Okay.
So, ganun.
Okay.
So, but next election, single member wards na lahat.
So hindi pala sabay-sabay kasi sa Greater Dandenong City Council nag-start na sila. Oo, one ward, one councilor, which is in a way it's a good practice, ano? Kasi represented talaga yung ward na yon.
Tama yun. Pero there are pros and cons diyan, ano? Ako mas gusto ko itong ganitong multiple member wards dahil nga when you get elected, you are not representing that specific ward anyway. Hindi ka nag-represent ng suburb mo, you represent the whole city. So, it's not that important na ganyan dyan. Pero yun rin, importante rin yung accountability. Kasi sa ngayon, pag sinabing mong kagaya dito sa amin, Chafee Ward, 4 kaming councilor, tapos may issue for example sa Hapless Crossing, 4 yung pwedeng tingnan ng resident, 4 yung kanyang papaluapin. May problema siya, lalapitan yung 1 out of 4 or yung 4 mismo. So, sa ngayon, pag may pwede mong sabihin, sige, responsibility, tinawagan mo yung isang councilor.
Pero, tama, magtuturuan sila. Magtuturuan.
Kung mag-isa ka lang, talagang ikaw dapat ang sasagot. No? Ikaw lang nagre-represent sa niya. As far as the residents are concerned, isa lang yung councilor niya. But ang councilor, responsibilidad niya buong city. So buong council.
On the other extreme naman, yung walang ward that you all run for the same city council, baka umabot yung candidates up to mga 200, 100, 200 candidates. Di ba? And then kukunin lang yung top 11. That's the other extreme.
Yan. Nangyayari ngayon. So far, ang record is 95 candidates for 11 councilors. Dito yan sa Windham. Buong Australia yan, ha? Yan ang pinakamarami. Ngayon, hindi kanyan kadami. So, kung mga 80 plus lang ngayon, hindi umabot ng 95 kagaya ng last time. Pero yan ang pinakamarami pa din. So far.
95, parang the biggest in the whole of Victoria. So, people are becoming Australia.
Yeah, buong Australia. In terms of percentage or the number of candidates compared to the number of positions sa council.
But of course, yung mga local elections in other state, iba rin ang kanilang mga doon, iba rin ang kanyang mga practices at saka regulations doon, sigurado, di ba?
Magkaiba yung local government rules nila. Most likely almost the same, pero hindi exactly the same.
There's a slight variation. There's some slight variation. Hindi kagaya sa atin sa Pilipinas, talagang it's all centralized ang election ng mga barangay at saka mga mayors and councilors. So there's no comparison. Saka sa atin ang election sa atin is it's a fiesta. It's pinakamasaya. Dito election is parang non-event. It's like very quiet. At lalo na ngayon na walang on-site election at it's all postal. Lalong hindi mo alam na may election pala.
Tama.
Oo.
Ginagaya natin ang Amerika kasi. So talagang kuan yun. Fiesta ang eleksyon.
Yes,
Parang
yes,
Amerika.
total. Yeah,
Iba
I
dito
know.
sa Australia.
Iba sa Australia. But of course, dito sa local election na ito, yung mga hindi makaboto without a valid reason, mapapine din sila. There are also fines, di ba?
Tama, tama. May penalty pag
Oo.
hindi ka mag-vote. So,
Oo.
marami naman, may mga, kuan naman, exceptions. So,
Yeah, no,
meron
there's,
naman, iba, makakuha sila. Kagaya nung nasa overseas sila or nasa military, they cannot vote sa lugar nila. May mga, kuan yan, valid
exemptions.
reason. Hmm.
Or you are in hospital at ano ka, medyo
Yeah,
may
yeah.
health issue ka. Yun, those are the reasons. So,
Meron nga
understandable
mga,
naman ang ano.
meron mga tumatawag na sa atin dito, nagpapadala ng message. Sabi, Walter, nandito ako sa Pilipinas. Nandyan, dumating na yung boto ko. Pwede ba akong iboto ng kapatid ko? Sabi ko, hindi po pwedeng proxy dito. So, mahirap yung mananalo
Mahirap.
tayo. Mahirap nung manalo tayo patapos one vote hindi pa ginawang tama. So, di bali
That's
na
right.
tayo okay yan. Every vote count pero huwag na nating gawin yan
Oh,
siguro.
yeah, that's correct. That's correct. It's better to be, it's better to have the integrity of voting. You win. You win with a good integrity number. Ano pa bang latest naman dyan? Other than politics, what about the health side, the COVID-19 side of Windham City Council? How are you faring?
Ang Windham yung dati yung Windham pinakamarami, hundreds of cases yung current, pero ngayon umaabot na lang tayo ng mga 30 na cases, active cases So paano yun? Pababa na pababa. Magandang sitwasyon kasi because Windham Council officers at saka staff ng dito sa council nga, they have volunteered to do contact tracing. So nagagamit yung kwan kasi sarado ang council, so hindi masyadong kwan yung mga employees. Nabigyan sila ng trabaho ngayon to do contact tracing. O tumutulong para sa contact tracing. Saka kung anong support ang magagawa. So mas konti na lang ngayon. Pero sa ngayon pinakamarami pa rin dito sa kwan in terms of number of cases per suburb or council area. Pero 30 na lang. Dati we're talking hundreds. So okay yan.
Right. And even the whole of the state of Victoria, I think we're glad that the state government, under the leadership of Daniel Andrews, has imposed a very strict measures dito for the whole of Victoria, and talagang they were able to arrest the number of cases in Victoria because Victoria was actually the hotspot of the whole of Australia. Nakikita ko sa mga overseas news, it's always mentioning Victoria as the hotspot of Australia. At ngayon na-reduce na.
Oo nga, pero that's something that we cannot be proud of, no? Problema doon is because it was a mistake. Mistake na nangyayari ng gano'n, na nagkaroon tayo ng crisis situation dito. Di ba? So, gano'n pa man, kailangan tuloy-tuloy lang ang pagsunod natin sa instruction para lalo nating masugpo. Pero aywan ko kung kailan naabot yung 5. Ilan lang tayo ngayon? 11 ba tayo ngayon? So, nakikita natin bumababa, pero baka naman imposibleng maabot tayo sa 5. Anong gagawin natin? Diba? So, anyway, at the same time, kailangan natin sundin kung yung mga authorities natin kung anong mga sinasabi.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. Distancing, face mask, personal hygiene, yun lang. Talagang lalabas ka lang at kung talagang kinakailangan. So, and also the distances within 5 kilometers. So, meron tayong mga dabarkads at sa mga kabarangay na nalalaman natin na ano pa rin bumabiyahe pa na outside 5 kilometers. So, mukhang maraming perang ibabayad for the fine. 1,500 fine yun.
Tama. So, ang problema nga namin dito sa Windham, yung post-COVID planning ngayon. Yan ang problema. Anong gagawin after COVID? Anong pwedeng natin gawin ngayon para makapag-prepare tayo ng ganyan? Dahil alam natin, pagdating ng ngayon, the next few months until December, talagang ang dami magiging unemployed. Maraming mga businesses na magsasara.
Yeah.
Anong pwedeng gawin ngayon para ma-prepare yan, mapagandaan, makapag-create ng more jobs? Yun ang challenge dito eh. Hindi yung
Yeah, that is,
okay lang, sunod pa rin tayo. Not everybody agrees with the premiers sa mga ginagawa, pero sundin pa rin natin, no? Sundin pa rin natin, but at the same time, kailangan tayong magplano ngayon kung anong gagawin dapat para makapag-recover.
That's right. But that is the biggest challenge talaga, yung economic recovery after this pandemic. Parang parang itong pandemic na to, it's even worse than hindi naman sa kinukumpara natin, but I think this is even worse than bushfire or nothing like that, or sabihin na natin parang World War. Di ba? Kasi sa World War, sa mga giyera-giyera, there is a chance na you can avoid it. Australia has been a very lucky country dahil for all the great wars, Australian civilians and Australian cities were not involved and did not suffer during the great wars of this world. Although yung mga pinapadala ng mga servicemen, yun lang ang sumali. But as a country, it's very lucky to have avoided being involved in the great wars. Unlike Europe, most of Asia, nagsuffer yan during the great wars. But now, with this pandemic, no one is exempted.
Tama ka Fred dyan. Ang sitwasyon lang kasi is maraming mga individual situations na hindi pare-pareho lahat. It could be a simple thing para sa country or we're not going to suffer as much. But personally, pag ikaw ay tinamaan, if it affects you, yun ang problema. No? Kasi pwede malaking problema. You can be in Europe, for example, or in America na millions na yung napektuhan, hundreds of thousands na yung namatay. Pero okay ka, safe ka, nandun ka sa bahay mo, walang personal issue. Pero you could be in a safer or worse situation or worse situation sa area, pero personally, tinamaan ka, you lost a job, you lost somebody. Yun ngayon ang yun ang challenge na kailangan talagang yun ang na-face ng individual. So importanteng gagawa ng solution para sa lahat, pero we have to recognize that it is an individual experience, no? Individual experience. Yun, dito nga lang sa Victoria, 800 plus na yun. So tayo nakikiramay sa mga may pamilyang nawala ng
pamilyang nagkaroon ng casualty ng pamilya.
Pero importante nga na wag na tayong maging part ng statistics. Di ba? Huwag na tayo magiging sumunod na lang tayo.
We should be all part of the solution, not the problem. Yan nga, sabi nila. And ang sa atin naman sa Pilipinas, sa motherland, ay monitor natin ang situation doon. So, they seem to be doing well relative to the whole global statistics. Dahil ang statistics natin is 3,000 o 2,000 something per day average for a population of 110 million. Kung ikukumpara mo yun, ratio and proportions, it's not too bad compared sa some of the European countries na nagkakaroon ngayon ng third wave, like Spain, France, Italy, UK, na population nila is less than 70,000 o wala pa. But yung kanilang daily average is nasa mga double 5 digits. 5 digits ang kanilang mga average. So ang problema lang po ka Walter is compared to our Asian neighbors, ang ating inang bayan ng Pilipinas, unfortunately, may pinakamataas compared to our Asian neighbors like, Malaysia, Singapore, Talo pa natin ang Indonesia, I believe. Nasa number 20 ang Pilipinas worldwide. Indonesia, who's got 400 million population, is only on number 22. So, i-compare mo sa other Asian countries, mukhang we still have a lot of work. The Philippine government still have a lot of work to do to reduce the impact of COVID-19. So, yan ang medyo malungkot at ang sigurado maapektuhan yan is pagka open na yung mga international flights, it's maaring pwede nga tayong umuwi sa ating inang bayan, Pilipinas, pero pagbalik mo naman dito, ikaw quarantine ka naman. Dahil mataas pa ang infection rate sa Pilipinas. Yun ang downside. Yun ang downside doon. Ay, nako.
So most likely nga, matatagalan pa bago magsimula itong international travel. So, maraming makakatipid ngayon, hindi masyado makabiyahe-biyahe. So,
well,
pero
that's the upside. Everything seems to be economical these days. You know? Even petrol prices has gone down to the lowest level never seen in the last 15 years. Wala, at saka walang bumibili kasi wala ka namang pupuntahan. What else? Yung mga takeaway shops, imbis na mag-takeaway coffee ka, you just make your own coffee. So I think everything has...
Negosyo, yun ang kanong problema ngayon. Wala silang income.
Walang income.
So, mabuti kung yan. Si Roms nga, makapag-advise ka dyan kung anong pwedeng gawin. Yung overhead mo, tuloy-tuloy overhead mo, yung mga financial, yung mga obligations mo, nandyan pa rin. Hindi naman susunod sa curfew or yung restrictions. Hindi, tuloy-tuloy pa rin.
So that is the biggest problem in how these small businesses will be able to recover. Some of them, unfortunately, will not come back anymore. They've been, deeply thrown against the wall. So siguro, pwede nating tanungin ang opinion ni Roms as a financial planner, Roms Gadaoni, especially sa mga taong, they don't know what to do with their current income o may mga siguro may mga tao din na nakatanggap ng package because of this pandemic, nabigyan sila ng package because their company has closed down. So let's hear it from one of our sikat at popular na financial planner. So okay, without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Romolai Roms Gadaoni. Okay, welcome. Welcome, Roms.
Magandang hapon sa
magandang hapon
sa
naman.
inyo, at sa inyong mga nanonood. Magandang hapon.
At tagapakinig. Kasama natin si Councilor
Tagapakinig, of course, siya.
Oo. So,
Councilor, magandang hapon sa inyo.
That's right. Madalas ka namin makita na sa iyong sa iyong personal Facebook page at nagbabalita ka tungkol sa mga financial planning. So that's why we decided to bring you on board para magkaroon din ng information about financial planning, yung mga kabarangay natin at saka mga labarkads natin. So before we go any further, Roms, give us a background of your life in the Philippines. Where were you born? And what did you study? And what was your career like in the Philippines? Was it in Manila or in the provincial area? Okay.
Actually, I was born in Romblon, Looc, Romblon. But studied in Baguio City. So doon ako nag-aral ng accounting and passed the CPA board 1998, and then I studied law as well and passed the bar exam in 2006. So
there you go. So we should call you
yeah,
attorney
yeah.
pala.
Oo. And then but I applied as ang trabaho ko talaga sa Pilipinas is an auditor, government auditor in Baguio City, City Hall ng Baguio. I
City
worked there
government.
for City Government of Baguio. Nagtrabaho ako doon ng halos 8 taon before I migrated to Australia as a skilled migrant as an accountant, because yung law kasi natin is hindi pareho dito sa Australia, so we decided kaming mag-asawa ay accountant, so we applied as migrant, no, skilled workers accountant. Then, ang taas ng demand ng mga accountant during that time, pero ngayon is medyo very very challenging yata sa mga accounting graduates natin.
Oh, that's good. Thank you for giving us an insight into your previous career in the Philippines. So, relatively, you had a good career, huh? The Pilipinas, being in the public service, a lawyer and accountant. So, what actually made you decide to migrate to Australia? And when did it happen?
We migrated at 2008 just to try something different, kasi parang during that time kasi parang ang dami-daming umaalis sa Pilipinas, at bilang Pilipino, gusto mo rin siyang subukan habang bata ka. Kaya yung bakit hindi ko siya sinubukan noon yung nang tumanda ka na. So yun, maraming kabarkada, maraming mga kaibigan na nagpumunta sa Canada, Australia, nag-usap kami ng asawa. Subukan din natin, parang gano'n.
I see, parang nasama sa
uso.
Sa uso, nasama sa mainstream.
Correct.
So when you migrated to Australia, did you have any goals, specific goals and objective of what you want to do?
Actually, nung nag-migrate ako, considering na both of us are accountant, so ang goal namin is to get an accounting job. So the problem at that time, kasi 2008, if you remember ka, Fred, no, it was a global financial crisis, and it's a very very challenging then. Parang ganito yung sitwasyon. Ang sitwasyon lang ngayon is may virus, pero that time is yung financial crisis. So
that's right.
Unemployment, underemployment, and we have a 2-year-old daughter at that time. 3 lang kami, walang kamag-anak. A typical migrant story.
I see.
Dumating kami rito, and then my wife decided to push through yung accounting job niya. Okay. Nag-alaga ako ng bata, and decided to work at night, which is unrelated talaga sa profession ko as accountant and lawyer way back in the Philippines. So it's very very challenging. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, well done. I mean, to give you a heads up, hindi ka nag-iisa dyan, Roms. Lahat ng mga previous mga migrants, like myself, I was an industrial engineer sa Pilipinas, pero hindi rin natin nakuha yung linya na yan dito. At naging trabaho natin is customer service officer. Kausap.
Yeah. And the good thing about sharing our stories to inspire other migrants as well, no, na challenge sila of getting into their profession na sa Pilipinas, pero makukuha rin nila yan, no, at the end, no, after that very very challenging years, no, I ended up as an accountant as well. So ganun siya, although not as a lawyer. But as I used I'm happy being an accountant.
So you're happy. So you're back into the accounting field now, huh?
Accounting field, and I added my financial planning
I see.
career.
So you're both now as an accountant and a financial planner, huh? So
correct.
Any other challenges aside from career and work wise since you arrived here in Australia?
Of course, the family support, so imagine with a 2-year-old, and then how to balance that time as a worker and as a family man.
That's right.
both of us are working. So family support is really
Important.
needed. Yeah, important sa atin dito. Marami din tayong kababayan na nakaka-experience ng ganito, yung pupunta ka sa isang lugar na wala ka talagang kakilala at
Kilala ka, kamag-anak.
kamag-anak.
That's right. So,
Pero being
lucky are,
Filipino, kayang-kaya natin yan.
that's right. But, lucky are those who were sponsored or by their family, yung mga family migration way back in 20 years ago. At least may mga kamag-anak silang nandito na to give them a kickstart. So, in your case, I can imagine independent migrant.
At so walang trabaho pagdating dito, di ba? Walang trabaho. Unlike other na meron silang ini-sponsor sila ng employer. Tayo dumating tayo walang trabaho.
Walang trabaho, walang
baon.
Walang kamag-anak.
Correct.
Walang kamag-anak, walang kaibigan, walang kakilala.
Correct.
Talagang so saludo kami sa experience nyong mag-asawa, and you really made it.
Salamat.
That's right. So let's talk about yung financial planning mo and advisory career. While you're already working, doing something in Australia, when and how did you decide, or when did you make the decision to pursue into the financial planning career?
When working as an accountant, napapansin niya because of our advancement in technology, no, yung accounting sector ay medyo na-disrupt ng technology. So as a business owner, ito pinag-uusapan nyo kanina negosyante, no? So as a business owners, I saw an opportunity in an advisory, which is more on advice, no, using your emotional expertise, yung hindi siya napapalitan ng technology, yung personal connection, parang ganun. Part of a diversification ng business, I decided na why not do financial planning. So I went back to university, get an experience, and then I became a financial advisor at that time. So I added qualifications from my accountant and tax agent, and then I became a licensed financial advisor in Australia.
Financial advisor. So, and finally, looking at your achievement, nakuha mo rin finally yung accreditation or license as a financial planning advisor.
Yeah. It's really hard. So sabi nga namin, so we have like 20,000 financial advisors Australia-wide, and when ASIC, no, yung regulatory body natin, decided to give an examination, so less than 50% pa lang ng mga advisors ang nakakapasa dyan sa exam ng ASIC. It's like similar to a board exam in the Philippines. So dati kasi walang exam ang advisor. Ngayon, this is a highly regulated industry na, and then part of that is yung educational qualification mo, and then at the same time yung government examination. So thank you. Natapos natin yan.
So what does that as a financial advisor, what does that entitle you to do, Roms?
Financial advisors deals with financial product. So anong mga product, no? Tawag nito yung superannuation, investments, no, yung mga shares, investment, bonds, exchange traded funds. So yun ang basta may opportunity na lumabas yung pera sa tawag nito sa kliyente, kailangan mo ng lisensya mula sa ating gobyerno para ibig sabihin is yung tama ang iyong ginagawa, kasi marami kasing naglipa na din kasi yung mga nagbebenta, no, na nagti-take advantage ng ating mga kababayan o nung mga tawag nito nung mga prospective customer nila, and then siyempre pero usapan nito, kailangan i-regulate talaga siya ng ating gobyerno. That's why meron kaming lisensya to discuss that financial product.
I see. So that's entitled si parang yan, migration agent, na you cannot advise anything on migration unless you're an accredited migration agent. Accountant.
Correct.
Fair enough. Now, I can assume that when you started doing the financial planning, most of your clients were mainly kababayans or kabarangay or Filipinos in the community, right?
Correct. It's a mix because we started
Mix.
as as an accountant. So
Mm.
bago ako naging financial advisor ay meron na rin ako mga tax clients, no. Yung typical accountant job, no, yung preparation of tax return, company returns, yung financial statements, business advisory. So meron na kaming client-based na ganon. And then when we added
I see. Okay.
financial planning, meron. Pero ngayon, when we look into our client base, majority pa rin is mga kababayan natin kasi marami din tayong kababayan na gustong kausap yung mga professional na kababayan din nila.
Okay. So the reason I'm asked that is ang question ko is what do you find among the kababayans? What is the prevailing culture at saka attitude of the Filipinos towards financial planning as compared to yung mga non-Filipinos, let's say the mainstream Australians? So is there a big difference?
Sa amin, no, sa tingin ko sa client base ko actually, because we normally discuss the technicalities yung ating mga financial products, no, like the superannuation, estate planning. Parang nagiging interesado ngayon ang ating mga kababayan kasi yung connotation kasi noon, no, pag sinasabi mong financial planner, kailangan ko ng financial planner is kailangan mong marami kang pera. 'Di ba? Parang gano'n yan, kailangan ko ng advisor kasi sobra so. Pero na-realize ng ating mga kababayan ngayon na napaka technical ng tax, kahit na tax lang ng Australia. So yun din.
I see. Okay.
Yun ang ginagawa ng financial advisor, no? Nagbibigay din kami ng advice regarding taxation. Yung superannuation natin, laging nagbabago, every budget, laging may bago sa superannuation. Yung estate planning natin, a separate superannuation is a trust, no? May nagkakaiba. Yung will, yung power of attorney, and then how to structure debt. So that's the time na ang mga kababayan natin is kailangan pala nila ng tulong sa mga advisors na kagaya namin.
Nakagaya nyo na talagang sinaliksik at pinag-aralan yung mga legislation about financial planning. That's correct. Okay, so let's talk about this yung iyong Facebook page na the road ahead, huh? What's the purpose of this Facebook site mo, the road ahead? And why do you call it the road ahead?
The road ahead, yeah. So parang yan yung page ko. It's being followed by thousands of Filipinos and Australians na, no, parang around 20,000 na yata, no, hindi ko nabisita. Pero diyan ako nagpo-post ng aking mga vlog or content kasi mag-isa lang kasi ako, hindi ako makapag-reach ng maraming mga kababayan natin, no. So I decided to put up a Facebook page na para makapagbigay ako kahit papano ng free advice sa ating mga it's just a general advice, no, pero like lalo ngayon for the past few weeks nagko-concentrate ako sa mga retirees, like ano yung mga rules sa pensions. Yun talaga ang purpose na nagkaroon ako ng Facebook page to reach other people, while the road ahead yung the road ahead.
Okay, that's good. So
your road ahead, no? Kasi
after this program, you can share this video program to your clients, Filipinos, mainly Filipinos, because we've been talking mainly in Filipinos and Tagalog. So I think it'll be a good material. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
So, what about these, itong ano mo naman, itong mga financial planning guidebooks, Money Smart Kids and What the Finance. So, what's the purpose and what's in there?
Actually, so I'm a book author as well. So, yung What the Finance, na-publish yan dito sa Australia 2017. It's more on finance guide for millennials, yung ating mga kabataan, because working as an advisor, ang lagi kong nakakausap is yung mga 50 years old, no, yung mga medyo matatanda na sa atin, at lagi nilang sinasabi yung kanilang money mistakes sa akin, no. yung mga dapat ginawa nila, yung mga pagkakamali nila noon. So nagkaroon ako ng summary, ganon. So nilagay ko siya sa isang libro. So yun pala ang mistake nyo noon na dapat ginawa nyo nung bata pa kayo. So ang ginawa ko is, bakit hindi ako gumawa ng guide mula sa pagkakamali ng magulang nyo, ituro ko naman sa mga anak ninyo, which is yung millennials siya, no?
I see, that's right.
And then yung Money Smart Kids ay gawa lang yan ngayong taon, but sa atin sa Pilipinas, para naman ito sa mga bata. So, as a financial advisor, no, your kids' future also starts today. So bakit mo pa siya aantayin na lumaki yung bata? Kasi if you don't teach your kids to with regards to money, somebody else will teach your kids. So that's the big risk sa part mo, di ba?
That's a big risk. Correct. That's right. So it's a good literature. Huh? So are these guidelines? Are these for sale, or are these given free to your clients? Or what's the
It's
deal?
for sale. Yeah, so what the finance is available sa Amazon. So it's available throughout the world, no? So so available siya. It's been printed so many times na rin. So it's becoming popular to my followers and supporters. The Money Smart Kids is just available in the Philippines online via
see.
Lazada and Shopee. Marami na rin siyang kumukuha. Available siya ngayon sa Australia through purchase sa page ko, sa Money Smart Kids page. But coming soon, medyo busy lang kami because of tax season. But eventually, i-upload ko siya sa Amazon so that people, hindi lang yung nakapanood mo rito, no, hindi lang sa Australia, hindi sa ibang bansa rin ay makabili sila ng libro na Money Smart Kids.
So when you say Amazon, that will be in electronic form, yan.
No. You can buy
hardbound, hard
ebook.
copy.
You can buy an ebook which is cheaper, which is yung electronic na sinasabi mo.
Yeah, that's correct.
But they can also order a hard copy na may deliver sa kanila via Amazon.
I see. That's good. That's good. So at least it's all available in both formats, huh?
Correct.
So what other means of media na ginagamit mo for promoting your services, financial services?
So normally yung clients ko kasi is coming from referrals. No, I don't advertise a lot except for that my Facebook page na normally considering that I have a lot of followers na dyan. So medyo doon ako nakakakuha ng client. And then I'm big through email marketing. Online marketing is big for me. Like for example, I have a website. I do content every week. So I'll sinesend ko siya sa mga clients ko via email. And then my Facebook page is connected to my company website, which is carefinancialservices.com.au. I already prepared hundreds of content in my website. So yung mga tao is pumupunta doon to be financially literate, no? Yung mga dinidiscuss ko is naka-post din yan sa website ko, and then people can subscribe, and then every week they can receive content kung may mga changes sa law, like for example, may budget tayo last week. Ang ginagawa ko, inuuna ko to send to all my email subscribers yung mga bagong batas na related sa finance.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So it looks like you covered all the bases, ROMs. Huh? So other than financial planning and tax advice and financial planning advice, do you involve yourself much in the community? What's your involvement?
Yeah. So I just normally support the community, but I don't nag-attend ako every time na I have an invitation, but tawag nito yung to create an event, hindi ko pa na ano yan. So I'm here, my company always support Filipino and community events naman.
Oh, okay. So you don't serve like as an officer of any organization or things like that?
So wala pa siguro, maaring dahil siguro alam mo naman kaming mga accountant and financial advisor and a business owner as well. Parang busy kami not because we are the business development of our company, kami nagpapalaki ng negosyo namin, busy kami sa mga may pamilya pa tayo, no? So
That's right.
so pero in saying that naman, hindi naman natin pinapabayaan o kung nakatanggap kami ng imbitasyon or fundraising sa mga Filipino community, nagsusuporta naman ang kumpanya ko.
That's good. That there are organizations in our community that are purely advocating and supporting mga small businesses within the community. One example is the Australian Council for Multicultural Entrepreneur.
Correct.
It's not really a community organization for Filipinos. It is an organization to support small businesses, and I think they do have non-Filipinos as well. So I think
correct.
that will be one of the organizations that you should consider looking into and
Yeah, of course,
participating.
of course. Yeah. If I get an invitation, I'm definitely I'll be there.
That's good. Okay, Roms, we're almost out of our time.
Yep.
So what advice can you give to our listeners and viewers, especially within our community, with regards to financial planning area?
So it's more on not an advice, because as an advisor we do one-on-one advice. I think it's more on like a challenge. So I have a so-called like a money challenge. Like for example, to all our kababayans, tingnan kung ano yung pumapasok na pera at tingnan kung ano yung lumalabas, kasi nakakagawa lang tayo ng strategy doon sa naiiwan. Kung gusto mong palakihin yung savings mo, tingnan mo kung ang gastos mo at tingnan mo kung ano yung pumapasok. Pangalawang challenge ko is yung utang challenge naman, no? Credit card, personal loan, car loan. Pag-usapan yung mag-asawa kung paano mabayaran yan as quickly as you can.
That's
no,
right.
Kasi ang taas-taas ng interest. So interest na nasi-save mo diyan is considered as a money earned din, no? Yung pangatlo natin is yung tinatawag ko na investment challenge. So tinamaan tayo ng pandemic ngayon, may mga taong gusto nang mag-invest to move into the next level, o may mga nagbayad na ng investment pero tinamaan ng kanilang trabaho, i-revisit siya. Kaya pa ba siya? Kausapin ng bangko, kausapin ng accountant, kausapin ng mortgage broker. Baka kasi hindi nyo na kayang mag-invest. Kailangan gumawa ng strategy para makapag-exit dyan kung tinamaan kayo ng COVID. Ang pang-apat dyan is yung superannuation challenge. No? Ito ang pinakamalaking asset natin pag tumanda na tayo aside from our family home. So tutukan din siya, no? Saan siya naka-invest? Magkano ang cost na binabayad mo, ano ang expenses kasi itong nakikita kong problema, sinisilip lang nila ang superannuation nila pag tanda nila, which is you can control now kahit bata ka pa. Ang panglima naman dyan ay tinatawag kong estate planning challenge, no? Yung ating mga kabayan, kung sakaling may nangyari sa'yo, baka mag-isa ka rito, meron ka na bang power of attorney? Na sinong kakausap sa superannuation, sinong kakausap sa bangko, sinong magbebenta ng property if something happens to you. So, yung 5 challenges na yun ang gawin ng ating mga kababayan.
Okay, well, fantastic. That's one hell of a good advice, Roms. So there are almost several challenges. Pinakita mo, several challenges. So it's hard to memorize all of them, but mga Dabarkats, kababayan, panoorin nyo uli, pakinggan nyo itong ating programa at malalaman niyo yung mga challenges na pinaliwanag ni Roms. Okay, Roms, thank you very much for being our guest this afternoon. At marami tayong napulot iyong mga advice as a financial planner. And huwag ka magsasawa. This is not your last. This is your first, but this is not your last visit to our virtual talk show, radio station.
Okay. Maraming salamat. Until next time.
Thank you very much, Rom.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, yan po ang ating naging panauhin, si Mr. Roms Gadauni. At mukhang napakaganda ng kanyang mga advices na ipinaabot sa atin. At bago po natin tawagin na susunod nating panauhin ay let's take a break at pakinggan naman natin yung another music from our Dabarkads, Gary Kahili. Okay. Okay, Saint Elmo's Fire, the theme from Saint Elmo's Fire from our musician, our well-known musician, Gary Kahili. Thank you, Gary, and hope you play more music tunes for our next program. Okay, so ngayon naman po ay we would like to welcome our second guest for this afternoon, none other than newly graduate, newly completed doctorate in philosophy, and a well-known student leader in the Filipino students in Melbourne. So let's all welcome Dr. Ethel Villapranca. Welcome, Ethel.
Hi, Tito.
Can we call you now Dr. Ethel Villapranca?
Yes.
Oh,
Pwede
that's
na
good.
po.
Sige. At anyway, paminsan-minsan ay alternate natin from Dr. Ethel to Ethel, ha?
Of course.
That's great. Thank you for coming on board, and alam kong marami ka ring mga activities all throughout the day, especially ngayon na ikaw ay tapos na sa iyong doctorate, and I'm sure you have involved in so many other activities while you have completed your doctorate. So let's start our discussion with probably introducing yourself to our listeners and our viewers. What was your life like in the Philippines? Your family, educational background, and your career in the Philippines?
Okay. Hi, Tito, and hi to everyone who's listening. So I was born in Manila, and I did my undergraduate degree at the University of the Philippines in Manila. I have a bachelor's in Philippine arts, major in art management, and after graduating, I worked at the Ayala Museum. So unang work ko ay sa Ayala Museum.
Mhm.
And I started off as a museum education assistant. But throughout my stay for 6 years, I was with them. I was subsequently promoted until when I left in 2004, I was already the programs and marketing officer. And then I moved to Robinson's Children's Library, which is a nonprofit ng Gokongwei Brothers Foundation. We were a public library, publicly accessible library na naka-base po sa malls ng Robinsons, particularly sa Galleria, sa Robinsons Imus, and Robinsons Novaliches. Pero sadly, sarado na po sila ngayon. So after that, I moved for a bit to Singapore. I worked there for a year. I wanted to find out because by then I was working 9 years na, and I wanted to find out if gusto ko ba talaga yung work ko sa museum, or I just love what I do because it's the only thing I knew. So I decided that I wanted to try other jobs. So I went to Singapore and I worked for DHL, the courier company, for a year, I was the internal communications coordinator of DHL Asia Pacific. But while I was there, lumabas yung resulta ng aking scholarship sa Fulbright. And then, so I had to go and I had to move to the US. And I pursued my master's degree in museum studies sa University of Florida on a Fulbright scholarship. And because po ang Fulbright is bilateral scholarship, you're required to go back to your country. So after studying for 2.5 years in the US, I came back to the Philippines and then I did consultancies. So marami po tayong mga projects na ginawa. Some of them involved sa National Museum, ABS-CBN Foundation, mga ganyan. But eventually, I worked full-time for Lopez Museum and Library.
I see. So talagang so this Fulbright Museum this is a intergovernment, intergovernment.
Yes.
I say that's one. How long were you there? How long were you in the US?
I was there from 2008 until 2010. So the program was for 2.5 years. So ano po siya, government to government agreement. So ang funding galing sa US government, and then nagre-raise rin actually ng fund yung local counterpart ng US government sa Pilipinas, which is the Fulbright Philippines Foundation. So,
I see. And what was this course or the degree that you attained through the Fulbright scholarship?
Masters in Museum Studies or Masters in Museology.
That's right. So that's where you actually got your passion and liking for museums, huh?
Actually po, I've always liked, when I was an undergrad at the University of the Philippines, I wanted to become a medical doctor. And
right. Okay.
yeah, I had most kids in my generation dream of becoming a doctor, a medical doctor. But, it's highly competitive in UP Manila. So I decided I was going to apply to shift from Bachelor of Philippine Arts to a course called Public Health, because I was told that it's a really good degree if you want to pursue medicine later on. But unfortunately, Public Health is a highly competitive degree. So the year that I applied to shift to this program, there were only 2 slots and there were 36 applicants. So when I didn't get accepted, I said, well, this is what I'll do. I will finish my degree, and then if I still want to be a medical doctor, I'll just, I'll study again. But then by the time I was taking major subjects, I fell in love with the course because my course is Philippine Arts. So we learned about, our culture. We would go to towns in the provinces, watch old ladies do embroidery sa taal po, yung nagbuburda.
Yung burda, mga bordadera.
O kaya pupunta kami sa ibang lugar, titikman namin yung pagkain nila or a-attend kami ng mga piyesta. And I found my passion for Philippine culture. So I decided na, okay, ano ba yung mga pwedeng trabaho ng graduate ng Philippine Art? So isa sa pwedeng trabaho to get involved in museums. So I decided, okay, when I graduate, I'm gonna work for Ayala Museum. So 3rd year pa lang ako, I knew that I wanted to work with Ayala Museum.
Yes.
And so when I finished my degree, that's where I started working. So yun.
Okay.
So dun po nag-impisa yung passion ko for museum work.
Okay. What made you actually so interested in becoming a medical doctor? did you come from a family of
No.
doctors? Oh, right, okay.
Hindi po. As in, wala pong, uh, actually funny, that's actually a funny story. My mom has a dream to have a child, to have a kid who is a doctor. I
I
think
see.
pangarap I think it's a common dream ng henerasyon ng mga magulang ko
That's right.
ang magkaroon ng anak na doktor kasi it's a noble, well-respected profession. Pero ang medyo interesting doon is mahirap lang po kami. Wala naman kaming pambayad ng tuition sa pagdodoktor kasi alam
That's
naman
very
natin,
challenge.
mahal.
Mahal talaga.
In fact,
Financially draining.
Financially draining. And bukod sa undergrad, meron ka pang yung medical degree, tapos magbo-board ka, tapos mag-specialize ka pa, talagang magastos siya. Eh wala naman po kami actually pera for that. So parang malabong dream rin siya. Parang it was more of a wishful thinking really on my mom's part na gusto ko ng anak na doktor. My dad was an OFW and by 1996, second year college pa lang po ako noon, he retired from being an OFW in the Middle East. So, mas limited na ang funding, ang financial capability namin. So yun, kaya rin po ako nag-aral sa UP kasi nga, mas mura ang tuition fee sa UP at saka sila yung mataas ang standard ng quality ng pagtuturo.
At saka you're a scholar doon. Very competitive din yan pagpasok sa UP, di ba? At, not everyone can get into UP, University of the Philippines. So it's very competitive din yan. So in a way, you have achieved something, huh?
I sure hope so po. So, kasi po, Tito, medyo alam naman natin ang buhay sa Pilipinas. Pag mahirap ka, limited rin yung opportunities mo kapag wala kang tinapos. Kasi ganun yung kalakaran sa atin eh. Masyadong mataas ang standards natin na, yung kahit yung nagtitinda sa department store, kailangan college graduate or college student. So parang kung hindi ka makakapag-aral, parang limited yung opportunities mo. So ayun po yung itinanim sa amin ng magulang namin na kailangan kayong mag-aral ng mabuti kasi otherwise mahihirapan tayo na sa buhay because mas konti ang opportunities na mahahanap ninyo kapag wala kayong masyadong tinapos. Hello, Tito.
Mother wanting you to be a doctor. I think it's a what do you call this? It's a cultural thing among. I think I wouldn't say among Asians, but especially among Asians. Kasi I watched a comedy show, Jokoy, Jokoy, and one of these jokes was that a lot of Asian parents, especially the Chinese, the Koreans, and the Japanese, they all want their children to be doctors, especially in the United States, America. Kaya that's probably why a lot of medical practitioners now, not only in the US, but even here in Australia and in Europe, most medical doctors are Asians. I think it's a trend, and they do excel. They do excel. So naging well-known na ang mga Asian doctors in the field among the Western countries. But anyway, you're also a doctor anyway because you've completed your doctorate, Ethel. So I think you have not disappointed your mother, huh?
Opo, natupad rin yung pangarap niyang magkaanak na doktor kahit na hindi medical doctor.
That's good. That's good. And then anyway, so when going to Australia now, when and how did you decide to come to Australia to to for study purposes? When did that happen?
I started applying noong 2014. So I came back to the Philippines from Fulbright, from finishing my master's degree in museum studies in 2010, December 2010. And we were required to stay in the Philippines for at least 2 years. And then around 2014, I was thinking already of pursuing a PhD, but I didn't want to study in the US. I wanted to study in a different country, but and I have a brother and his family. They live here in Australia. Plus, the previous I've visited Australia maybe 3-4 times in the past before I applied. Before I applied for my PhD, I have already visited Australia, and I'm quite well traveled. And of all the cities that I've visited, I found that it's a good place. The quality of life in Melbourne was something that I was, I really wanted. It's a really good quality of life. In fact, diba, tayo
A
ay
very livable city.
most livable city for several years. And
So,
also because and also because Victoria is the culture capital of Australia. Hindi ko po ito alam noong nag-a-apply ako na ang University of Melbourne, where I did my PhD, was in terms of was number 1 in Australia. I wasn't looking at rankings. In fact, I only when I started my PhD, so I applied 2014. I got accepted 2014 December, and so I had a scholarship. I had 2 scholarships. So, ang scholarship po ay galing directly from the university, Melbourne International Research Scholarship. So, dalawa po yung scholarship ko. One that waives the tuition fee, and the other one, may stipend. Kasi, hindi naman po mahirap actually na nag-aaral ka ng PhD tapos, or nag-aaral ka and then nagtatrabaho ka. A lot of people do that, pero medyo talagang mahirap po siya. So medyo mahirap sumubo sa pagpi-PhD na wala kang ipon or wala kang stipend. So I started my PhD in February 2015, and unlike in the US na merong coursework, during the time I started my PhD at the Melbourne Graduate School of Education, wala po kaming coursework. So, diretso ka research. And normally, people finish in 4 to 5 years or 3.5 to 4 years. Pero na-complete ko na po actually yung degree ko nung April pa. But dito po kasi sa Australia, ang rule is hindi ka pwedeng tawaging doctor until ka mag-graduate talaga, until umattend ka ng ceremony. But unfortunately, due to COVID, wala po tayong ceremonias. So, graduation in absentia yung tawag nila. So, I did that on Monday. So, nung Monday pa lang po ako pwedeng tawaging doctor. So, yun. Pero, yun po, medyo mahirap ang buhay, masaya na mahirap ang buhay estudyante sa Australia. Pero, yun, marami namang po, lalo na po ang pag-PhD, para siyang roller coaster. Maraming ups, maraming down. Pero, kailangan laban lang, kapit lang. Matatapos din. And, I finished. Hi, Tito. Medyo nawawala po si Tito. So magkakwento na lang, magtutuloy ko na lang yung kwento. Oh, there you are, Tito.
That's there you go. Sorry. So what about itong work mo sa Museum of Australian Chinese Culture?
Okay. So ako po ay curator and exhibitions manager at the Museum of Chinese Australian History, which is located in Chinatown sa Lilburg Street. So ang
I
trabaho
see.
ko po ay mag-alaga ng koleksyon ng museum. We have over 8,000 objects that were mostly donated by the Chinese Australian community that documents the the culture of Chinese Australians. So yun, so ako po yung isa sa mga nangangalaga noon. Ako rin po ang tumutulong sa kanila sa pagtatatag at pag-aangalaga ng mga exhibitions nila. So unfortunately, right now ay sarado ang mga museum sa Melbourne dahil nga tayo'y naka-lockdown. So, pero patuloy pa rin po yung trabaho namin kasi kahit sarado ang building, we still have to look after the collection kasi po medyo sensitive ang ating mga cultural collection. Hindi sila pwedeng naiinitan, naarawan, hindi pwedeng taas baba ang temperature ng kung saan sila nakalagak, hindi pwedeng naalikabukan. So tuloy pa rin po yung trabaho, work from home most of the time. Pero once a week, someone from the curatorial department checks on the building and the collection to ensure that everything is still in order. Tapos part-time lang po itong work ko actually. Lahat po kami, because we are a small non-profit museum, 3 times a week lang po ang trabaho ng lahat ng staff. And we're a very lean staff. There are only 7 of us in the museum. Tapos lahat po kami part-time. So nung bago po ako nung start ng year, tapos kasi po sa PhD dito sa Australia, magsasubmit ka ng thesis mo, tapos i-examine po yun externally, ipapadala sa mga ibang academics, sa ibang bansa usually, preferably. And then you wait for the results. So nakapag-submit na po ako November pa lang last year. But it took until April for my results to come out. So January, by December I was hired. I was invited as to be a research associate doon sa project kung saan naka-embed yung aking research. So I was working with them until natapos yung funding ng research project, which was at the end of May. So I was working 2 jobs. Mondays and Tuesdays, I was working at the University of Melbourne. And then Wednesdays to Friday, nasa Museum of Chinese Australian History.
Oh, I see. Okay. So what was your role in Melbourne Uni? What was your work there?
So I was a research associate for the project yung pong project kung saan nandun yung research ko. Innovative ILETC po ang tawag dun sa project. It's Innovative Learning Environments and Teacher Change. So essentially, pinag-aaralan po ng project kung paano matutulungan ang mga guro na maging mas epektibong guro at mas maganda yung learning outcome ng estudyante nila kung paano gagamitin ang kanilang learning space, whether it's during the time mostly physical learning space po yung focus namin, kung paano gagamitin ng mga guro ang physical learning space nila sa paaralan para mas matututo yung mga estudyante nila. Ganon. So yung research ko po ay bahagi nun. Pero po, yung sa akin kasi, ang research ko po, dahil ang background ko ay museum, inimbitahan po ako sa research project. So the research project is an ARC linkages project. It's one of the biggest na binigyan ng pondo ng ARC na ganong klase na nakafocus sa education. And my role was to focus on what museums are doing, that strategies for teaching students that can be adopted in school classrooms. And then the research project encompasses Australia and New Zealand. Pero dahil malaking project po siya, we actually have industry partners, 17 industry partners from Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, and the USA. In fact, partner po namin ang education department ng New Zealand, tapos apat na education state departments dito sa Australia. So malaking project po siya, and
It's
so
a big project, really. You know?
it is a massive project. So nung hinire po nila ako to do additional research, so a lot of writing. So I was a research associate from January to May sa ILATC.
Talagang ano, you really live and breathe academics talaga, ha? Being a doctor. Now, I mean, so much for these academics, for your academics and career. Let's go to your involvement in the Filipino students, international students in Victoria. You were a PASCO president for some time. You know, tell us about how you were able to help the organization and other students in Melbourne.
Okay, so yung pong FASCO ay itinatag noong 2012 ng mga nung una po kinabibilangan sila ng mga Australia awardees. So mga Australia award students.
I see.
Pero eventually, lumaki po yung grupo, and then we the organization started welcoming non-Australia awards. Pero yung, and ano po siya, state level student organization siya. So, hindi po kasi lahat ng university dito may Filipino student organization. So, kami po yung umbrella organization. And so 2015 po yun. So 2012 nag-umpisa. So I arrived 2015. Uma-attend lang po ako ng mga, meetings, activities, and then. Pero nung 2016, naging board member po ako ng FASCO, and I was the director for learning and development, learning and wellness. So I was the director of learning and wellness, and nag-organize po kami ng mga, so trabaho ko po mag-organize ng mga training programs, mga workshop, field trip, yung mga biyahe-biyahe para sa mga estudyante. Opo, na Pinoy. So, nung 2017 naman po, 2017, kasi ang termino namin ay August to July the following year. So, yes, 2017, I became president of the organization. So, patuloy naman po yung plataforma ng na inumpisahan ng mga nauna sa amin.
Yung mga founders, ha?
Opo, ng mga founders na patuloy na pagtulong sa mga estudyante. Marami po kaming, during my time, marami po kaming mga programa, katulad ng pinalago po namin yung following sa FASCO's Melbourne Student and Friends na Facebook group. Nung time ko po, nasa 8,000 plus na ang followers noon, ang members noon. I think ngayon mas malaki na yun kasi that was 3 years ago. And then we also, we nagtatag rin po kami ng titos and titas of FASCO na, parang yung pong marami naman po kasing tayong mga titos and titas tulad ninyo po na willing tumulong sa mga estudyante.
Mga estudyante, there's a lot of organization like that.
So, minamatch po namin. So, gumagawa kami ng mga program na yun. Patuloy po yung mga ganong programs ng FASCO. So,
ongoing, ha?
Ongoing po ang FASCO. Medyo tahimik lang dahil nga po COVID. Limited ang pwede nilang gawin.
So, who's the president of FASCO at the moment?
Dennis Sumailo po ang president ng FASCO ngayon. He is a PhD student at RMIT University.
Okay, like what I've told you earlier during our pre-interview discussion, this is not the last time that you'll be visiting. You'll be guesting at our program, ha? Kasi we would like to listen and talk to other students, yung mga juniors na sumunod sa iyo in PASCO as well as in other student organizations. So we'll be looking forward to that at para ma-expose yung situation ng mga student dito sa Melbourne. and not only in Victoria, even interstate. So that will be the next step of our program to explore and talk to the other students. So, Dr. Ethel, maraming salamat. So quickly, what is your future? What does the future hold for you? What are your plans now that you're a doctor? As I was saying, is we look forward to seeing you more often and more permanently here in Melbourne, in Australia. So, what are your plans?
I'm planning to say, tuloy naman po yung trabaho ko sa Museum of
Good.
Chinese Australian History.
Mhm.
Ongoing naman po siya. Pero even nung estudyante po ako, may mga project po ko sa Pilipinas. In fact, nandito na po ako sa Pilipinas nung na-publish yung libro on museums na ako yung principal author. Nakalimutan ko magdala ng kopya na ipapakita sa inyo.
That's okay.
Pero
We can always.
pero meron pong, so tuwing umuwi po kasi ako, so I make sure that whatever I'm learning here in Australia or anywhere I go, I give back to fellow museum practitioners in the Philippines. Kasi po, kaya po ako kinailangang pumunta sa Amerika para mag-aral kasi po wala po tayong mga degree sa museum studies sa Pilipinas. At limitado rin po ang training programs para sa mga manggagawa sa museum sa Pilipinas. So, even before nung nagtatrabaho pa ako sa Pilipinas, lagi po akong nagko-conduct ng training programs. And even nung estudyante na po ako dito, tuwing umuwi po ako ng Pilipinas, may mga training programs po tayong na iniimbitahan. So alam ng mga, maliit lang po kasi ang museum community sa Philippines. Alam nila, pag uuwi ako, mag-organize sila ng training program. So balak ko pong ituloy ang, I intend to keep my ties strong in the Philippines,
Correct.
with the Philippine industry, Philippine museum industry, and then still, while I'm still here.
That's right. That's right. You can give back to the Philippines, and everything is possible now with the online media, multimedia. I was thinking, I should connect you to my daughter. She works for Melbourne Uni as well,
Okay.
full-time work. But she's a big fan, a big lover of museum. Every time na magbabakasyon kami the Philippines, she goes around to all the different museums.
Marami po kaming mapapag-usapan. Marami kaming
I'm sure.
mapapagkwentuhan.
So I will connect you definitely to my daughter.
In fact,
One of the
Tito, dahil natanong niyo po kung ano yung mga natanong niyo yung online programs, sa susunod na Sabado actually, on the 17th of October, meron po akong in partnership ng Museum of Chinese Australian History with Chinatown Museum in the Philippines. Meron po silang program na tinatawag na Chinatown Portals. So, sa 17, ako po yung panauhin nila and I will talk about Chinatown dito sa Melbourne.
Okay,
Yun.
great. So
Live po yun sa Facebook.
send us the invite. Send us the invite,
Opo.
and then we'll spread it around. Thank you very much, Dr. Ethel Villafranca, for coming on board this afternoon. And as I've said, this is your first time to be on our show, but this will not be your last time. Okay, and we hope and we pray for your continued success. And as I was saying, is we look forward to seeing you more often and more permanently here in Australia. So thank you very
Tito.
much. Okay, we look forward. Thank you
Paalam
very
po.
much. Paalam.
Bye.
Keep safe, keep healthy. Nako, napaka-interesting po ng ating chikahan with Dr. Ethel Villafranca. And sabi niya is Melbourne is the most livable city in the world. Pero I think yung susunod nating guest dyan is palagay ko hindi mag-a-agree yan dahil taga-Sydney itong susunod natin na guest. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to give you an introductory remarks to our next guest, which is none other than Attorney Imelda or Maria Imelda Argel, from Sydney, New South Wales. She's an author, a lawyer, a community leader, an advocate, and a mother who hails from a family of lawyers in the Philippines. Na-admit po siya na practice of law in 3 jurisdictions, Philippines, Australia, and in New York, USA. And one of her most significant achievement in Australia is to get the Australian government to recognize the Professional Regulations Commission, Philippine Regulations Commission Board examination in the Philippines as a qualification equivalent to an Australian degree. She is also a recipient of the Philippine Presidential Award, First New South Wales Filipino-Australian Women's Achievement Award, the University of the Philippines Alumni Association Award for Community Care and Law Practice, and several plaques of recognition, Legal Management Council of the Philippines. And one of her latest achievement is authoring a book entitled Pebble That Floats. Okay, so without further ado, let's welcome Attorney Maria Imelda Argel. Welcome, Amy, Attorney Amy. Welcome to our Barkadahan sa Barangay, live from Melbourne or live from Australia. So, kamusta kayo dyan sa Sydney? Naka-turn off po yung sound nyo. Amy, naka-turn. Ayan.
Maraming
Good
salamat,
afternoon.
Fred, sa
The
oportunidad.
privilege is ours.
The pleasure is mine.
Talagang pagka-lawyer talaga, hindi mo hindi mo mauunahan sa mga expression. The privilege is ours and the pleasure is yours. Okay, let's leave it at that. So, thank you very much, first of all, for coming on board on this Sunday afternoon. Very interesting po yung usapan natin. And yung previous guest po natin was Ethel Villafranca, whom I believe you are known to each other.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about your life muna po sa atin sa Pilipinas. Yeah. Okay, so what was it? Your quick family background in the Philippines, as well as your career in the Philippines.
Okay. Both my parents were lawyers. My father was an RTC judge in Caloocan City, in Metro Manila, and my mother was deputy commissioner of the Land Registration Administration before she retired. Then we have 4 children in the family. Our eldest was in banking. He managed our rural bank. Then I was the second one. I was in corporate practice. Then the younger sibling is also was later on appointed as judge, also of the RTC in Lawag City, and the youngest was an IT professional. So he was the one who moved to Australia in the early 80s.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Before I left for Australia, I was general counsel of the Eisenberg Group of Companies, regional headquarters, and I was also vice president of the local subsidiary Eisenberg and Company Philippines. We were responsible for the consortium agreement that supplied the LRT1 Baclaran line.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. So You had a very interesting career in the Philippines, huh?
Yes, yes. It was a very high profile, high paying career.
Okay. We prepared a short video of your family background and career in the Philippines, Attorney Amy. So let's have the let's give the pleasure to our viewers to watch this at the same time. We can take a little bit of break. Okay, is that okay with you? And then we'll come back to you with the rest of our topics for this afternoon. Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
Yan po, habang naayos natin ang ating short video presentation of Attorney Amy Rahel. Ito na po. Okay, Attorney Amy, balikan natin si Attorney Amy. Okay, at yun ay a quick glimpse ng achievements ni Attorney Amy. Napakahaba po, kaya makamaubusan tayo ng ating live discussion, live interview, kaya ating pong senior cut na lang. So I hope you don't mind, Attorney Amy.
It's okay.
Anyway, i-connect po natin yan, yung link noong inyong YouTube channel. We will connect that to our Facebook page so that yung mga viewers po natin na interested to watch the full version of that YouTube episode ay mapapanood nila. Ayan. So, ngayon, let's talk about your career in New South Wales. So, yung kailan po kayo nag-start ng inyong what you call this of course legal practice in New South Wales? Just briefly po.
Nung dumating ho ako nung 1988, hindi ako pwedeng mag-practice ng law. So I had to do my requalification. And I had to study at night, work during the day, bring up my son, who was only 9 years old. So, although 1 year, natapos ko ho yung 6 subjects na rin-acquire ng New South Wales, they required me practical legal training. And even if I had 15 years of practice in the Philippines, even if I was already accredited in New York State Bar, to be admitted to New York State Bar without examination based on my UP education in law and my 15 years of practice, ayaw ho dito sa New South Wales. I-recognize yun. So, they required me to have a practical legal training. At that time ho, hindi pwede ang basta makapasok ka sa New South Wales practical legal training. Ang sabi nila, uunahin ho yung mga graduate ng mga universities sa New South Wales muna.
New South Wales, yep.
So sabi ko ho, edi every semester may bagong graduate. Uunahin sila. Wala na akong pag-asang ma-admit dahil mag-aantay ako ng mag-aantay, may bagong graduate parati.
Parami yun.
That's right. So I made a submission that it is against the Anti-Discrimination Act. Yung ginagawa nilang ganon. So, yeah, and then my submission was approved, and so they set aside that rule in the College of Law of New South Wales.
Okay.
So from then on, they admitted overseas educated lawyers to the practical legal training. So that paved the way for everybody after me who migrated and who wanted to be admitted and to practice as a solicitor in the state of New South Wales.
In a way po, that's one big accomplishment, huh? One big achievement.
Yes, so parati akong lumalaban. Lumalaban ako parati kung... So nung na-admit na ako na solicitor, ayaw pa rin nila akong i-employ kasi I took my Master of Laws. So, may mga mag-i-interview, sasabihin nila sa akin, di mataas ka pa sa amin ngayon, ay may master's ka. Kami wala, sasabihin mga partners. But then, bakit pa nyo ako tinawag for the interview? Nakita nyo naman yung resume ko, sabihin ko. Sasabihin nila sa akin, talagang walang bakante. Gusto lang namin makita kung anong itsura ng Pilipina na professional, na lawyer. Kasi yung lahat na kaibigan namin, ang mga asawa nilang Pilipina, mail order brides.
Ooh.
Okay. I-insultuhin pa nila ako.
It's a bit of a, prejudice or bias.
Oo, so malakas ho ng ganyan nung mga 1988 hanggang mga
Early,
1992.
late 80s, early 90s. Mhm.
Yes. Wala pa masyadong mga Asians dito, so malakas ang discrimination. So I decided I will establish my own practice. Kaya nung late 1994, I opened my own practice, Imelda Argel and Associates, dito sa
Legal
Sydney.
practice po ito.
Yeah, so it was a legal and migration practice.
Okay.
So in the meantime ho, marami akong natulungan mga nurses. At that time, hindi pa kailangan ng gaya ng pahirapan sa ngayon. At that time, I could get them as assistant in nursing, yung AIN. And maska na hindi sila nakapag-English language test, yung IELTS,
Pasado.
they could come, may trabaho na sila the next day after they arrive. I got them a job as
That
AIN.
was easy.
And yeah, and then in the meantime, nag-aral sila ng IELTS review nila, and then nakakapasok sila sa College of Nursing. At that time, libre pa ang papasok sa College of Nursing. So marami po akong nakuha ng mga nurses galing Philippines and mga ibang Filipino nurses all around the world. At least may mga nakuha siguro mga 50 nurses and their families, no?
Di marami
And
kumuha
then the
sa inyo
other,
na ninang nung kanilang wedding or something.
nag-attend ho ako ngayon kasi na normally nag-attend ako ng mga, meron silang Christmas party every year. Kaya lang ngayon na may COVID, I doubt it kung matutuloy, no? But the other thing that I did during my practice was the recognition of the Professional Regulatory Commission,
PRC,
board examination.
yeah.
Kasi before that ho, nag-practice ako as migration agent, no? So napansin ko ho, maski na summa cum laude sila, palagay mo sa St. Paul's College o St. Teresa's College sa Manila, basta kung hindi UP, UST, LaSalle o Ateneo ang pinag-graduatean, nahirapan ho sila dito
I see.
to
There
have
was
their
only certain schools sa atin. Yeah.
Oo. So, yung mga accountant, mga IT professionals, mga teachers, at that time, before 2007, hindi basta-basta makapasok unless may master's degree sila. So, nakita ko ho sa dyaryo na may advertisement na they were asking for submissions dun sa parliament sa Canberra. Kaya lang, magde-deadline na ho the next day. Nakita ko yan ng weekend ho sa Philippine Community Herald newspaper. So, tumawag ho ako. Sabi ko, pwede bang i-extend yan ng 1 linggo lang? I want to write a submission. Sabi ko. So sabi nila, that's why we advertise, because we have been looking for someone to write a submission. Because we don't know the situation, how we could help the Philippines, sabi. So, sumulat ho ako ng yung justification kung bakit dapat i-recognize nila yung Philippine board exams.
Okay.
Because sabi ko, hindi naman ho yun private. Na hindi naman ho, basta-basta lang na nakakapasa. Mga at that time, siguro, sometimes it's even less than 20% ang pumapasa dyan. Kuminsan sa mga ibang kurso. So anyway, pinakinggan ho nila ako. And I obtained some statistics ho sa Philippine Embassy sa Canberra kung ano yung percentage ng nag-exam compared to yung mga nakakapasa. Okay. So anyway, ang hinihingi ko at that time is mas ka naman lang 20%, of those who passed, sabi ko, basta at least i-recognize nyo na wag nyo na silang i-require na mag-masters pa. Because that's really a waste of time and it's very expensive and it's not, you know. So, they granted my submission. So, they granted na lahat na pumasa ng board exams doon sa Philippine Regulatory Commission, yung PRC natin, equivalent na yon ng degree, qualification
degree
sa Australia.
Yun.
So, hindi na so yung mga teachers, IT professionals, mga accountants, and many others na yung mga nangangailangan dapat ng Australian bachelor's degree, hindi na ho yun. Pwera lang ang mga medical professions. Kasi meron silang ibang, yun o. So, after that, my practice Sydney was very satisfying because I was able to help a lot of people, not only Filipinos, mga Australiano at mga ibang nationalities. Then, yung bandang mga 2000, nung mga 2013, I retired. But it took me 2 years to plan my retirement kasi yung mga iba, pahabol, eto na lang sabihin sa migration visa, no? So, eto na lang gawin mo muna to. O kaya eto muna yung conveyancing. And I couldn't just refuse them because many of them were repeat clients. So, what I did was, eto na nung 65 ako, sabi ko, this year, ang tatanggapin ko na lang na trabaho, yun na lang existing, itutuloy ko na lang. Kaya consultation na lang. Yun, tinace out ko ho hanggang nakapag-retire ho ako. And I was already 67 years old. So, right now, I'm in retirement. I've been in retirement. So, I've been retired for, 7 years now?
Now,
so I'm happy to be retired.
That's good. So keep enjoying po, Attorney Amy, ng inyong retirement. But in the meantime, in retirement, you were able to write your memoirs, your book, which is very, very interesting. In fact, we had a launch of your book here in Melbourne. But I'm sure there's still a lot of our kabarangay, fellow Filipino Australians who haven't read about the book. So, in a quick summary po, what inspired you to write that book, and some of those challenges that you faced in getting your degree recognized, in achieving your academic background and qualification, is also part of that book. So, but really, what inspired you to write the book, Pebbles That Float?
Noong 2015, 45th anniversary ho namin yung law, UP Law Class 70. No? Okay, so, hindi makapag-attend ng malaking reunion because hindi sila makapag-book kaagad. I think the APEC was held in Manila at that time. Pero anyway, nung nagpunta ako sa Philippines in November, I organized a reunion just for our class. Yung class 70 ho. Kasama ho dyan yung sila Sal Panelo, sila tatlong, MP, sila Allen Kimpo, Jerome Paras, si Noli Fuendabelia, who, lately passed away. Anyway, I hosted the reunion. Mga 25 nakaklase ang dumating. Then they asked me, bakit ka ba umalis sa Pilipinas? Ang ganda-ganda ng trabaho mo dito. Sabi nila. So I had to tell, so I had to relate the whole story of how I suffered psychological domestic violence for 8 years during my marriage. And they all got shocked ho dahil I had a big wedding at the Intercontinental Hotel in Manila. And just after the wedding, even before we even went to bed. My ex-husband already declared, binatuho niya yung sapatos niya at sabi, pulutin mo yon. Sabi, nagulat na siya ko ako. Tapos, ngayon nakasal na tayo, wala ka nang magagawa. Magagawa ko na kung anong gusto kong gawin, sabi niya sa akin. But,
that was
hindi ko naman alam kung anong ibig sabihin. I mean,
right.
hindi ko alam kung, na-shock talaga ako dahil,
Suddenly, out of the blue.
Yeah, nagbago siya. Tapos, before that, halos gabi-gabi na nagbibisita sa bahay hanggang alas 2 ng umaga. So, ano kayong nangyari dito? Anong nagawa ko? Sabi ko. So, nung we went to bed, no? Tapos sabi niya kaagad, hindi ka na virgin. Then, lang na-shock ako dahil alam na alam ho niya na birhen ho ako at wala kong naging ibang boyfriend before him. At alam niya na, in fact, tinutukso niya ako na, siguro tomboy ka, sasabihin pa niya dahil hindi man ako nakikipag-holding hands or, hindi ako nakikipaghalikan before. He knew that wala akong experience at all. So, na-shock na naman ako. Umiiyak ko ako the whole night. But the next day, we were going to Hong Kong for our honeymoon. So, halos hindi na ako magising dahil umiyak ako the whole night. And, it was a very heavy heart.
Very traumatic.
Yeah. So, anyway, pumunta rin kami sa Hong Kong. Tapos, next day sasabihin naman niya sa akin, dapat magsha-shampoo ka day and night. Hindi pwedeng, but mahabang buhok, araw-araw, twice a day, wala na akong ginawa kundi mag-shampoo araw-araw at wala na akong matrabaho, no?
Opo.
Nagtataka ako. Tapos marami siyang mga akusasyon na marami siyang mga rule. Hindi pwedeng nasa bahay ka na walang bra. Sino naman ang nasa bahay ka na? Wala namang lalaki sa loob ng bahay na atya. Ano ba ito, no? So, ano ba itong napasukan ko? Pero, ayaw ko nang makikipag-away araw-araw. Kaya, I just, kuminsan tumatahimik na lang ako, hindi ako sumasagot, ginagawa ko lang kung ano yung gusto ko, no? Sa opisina, but umuwi ako alas 5 araw-araw to be sure na pag kung nandun siya, andun na ako.
Opo.
Kaso halos araw-araw hanggang alas 12 na ng gabi siya dumadating. So mag-aantay ako. So, ganun ang buhay ko ng 8 years. And I didn't give up kasi ang upbringing ko, walang naghihiwalay at that time, no? Very religious, galing akong sabigan, napaka-conservative. So, hindi ako basta-basta makipaghiwalay, no? So, tiniis ko hanggang natuklasan ko kung anong problema. Yung pala...
Attorney, iwan po natin sa mga readers. Iwan po natin sa mga readers para ma-excite sila na kumuha ng inyong book. Let's give them some excitement.
Yes.
So, right after the marriage ended po, yun na po, nag-decide na kayo na mag-abroad or pumunta sa Australia.
Nung tagilid before that nung tagilid ang sitwasyon, nag-apply ako for immigration sa Australia kasi may kapatid ako dito, yung bunso namin. Ngayon, sinasama ko siya doon sa application dahil hindi ko nga alam kung anong reason, no, na kung bakit siya ganon. Kala ko, baka lang masyado siyang mama's boy, masyado siyang so kung lahat kami pupunta sa Australia,
very strange,
mailayo siya sa mama niya, baka maging independent siya, no, at baka magbago. Kaso pinabura niya at ayaw niyang ma-include papuntang Australia. So, hindi na siya nakasama. And it was only later that I found out
Okay.
Kung anong
The real
rason.
reason.
Oo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So iwanan po natin 'yan at para magkaroon ng ibig sabihin ng interest
Suspense.
yung mga suspense, yung other tabarkads, other friends na who hasn't read the book yet to really get that book at makita natin ang experience of Attorney Amy. Now, because of that life experience that you had, you became a champion. You became an advocate of psychological domestic violence, especially among Filipino women who married, non-Filipino partners, Australian. So tell us about that advocacy of yours dyan sa Sydney.
Oho. Well, nung bagong dating pa lang ako ho dito, alam ko na maraming mga Filipinos na mga Pilipina na binubugbog ng mga asawa. Pero meron akong dalawang kliyente in my practice na mga lalaki, hindi naman binubugbog, pero financial domestic violence ang sinasabi. Kasi yung isa, yung mother-in-law niya, gusto lahat na sweldo niya ibibigay para magpagawa ng bagong kitchen. Nung ayaw niya, pinaalis. Yung mga ganun. Yung isang kliyente ko, pinalabas sa bahay.
These are Filipino men, ha? Filipino men ito.
Oo, mga men. Kaya may mga ganun ho. So
the domestic violence cannot only be mainly against women. Sometimes it can be also against men.
Men. Oo, kasi mga isa malaking tao eh. So, I mean, it's hard to convince the immigration na victim siya, no? So I made a research. And I found out, it was only then that I found out that I was a victim of psychological domestic violence. Na hindi lang physical violence, ang domestic violence, but also financial or psychological financial violence. Or financial domestic violence. Kaya, nung magsulat na ako ng libro and I found out that, maybe may mga ibang tao na hindi alam ang gagawin at hindi alam na biktima na sila, because for me, mga ibang kaibigan ko, after I wrote the book, sabi nila sa akin, for an intelligent girl with all the degrees as you are, bakit hindi ka nalang umalis ka agad? Ba't hindi mo alam na, you were a victim?
Victim, yeah.
Well, hindi madali yun. Hindi madaling aminin na biktima. Kasi parang nakakahiya.
That's correct, especially in the Philippine context. Huh?
Yeah, and then, pero, ang nangyayari ho, in-explain ko yan sa YouTube, no? Kung anong ginagawa yung psychological domestic violence. Para it's gaslighting, no? Yung technique nila. Like, one day, sasabihin nila sa'yo, pa-konti-konti na meron silang reklamo sa'yo. So you will feel, which I felt inadequate. Parang ako yung may kasalanan. Parating ako nag-examine ng konsyensya ko. Ano ba yung ginawa ko today? Bakit ganon ang reaction? So I would try my best again to be better. Palagay mong hindi siya gumagastos mas kanano sa bahay. Ako bumili ng bahay namin, ako bumili ng mga muebles, ako nagpapasweldo, ako nagpapalengke and all that. So ano kayang ginawa ko? No? Ganon parati ng throughout 8 years, parang ako yung may kasalanan. But ang technique nila, kuminsan maaga siyang uuwi, kuminsan kadalasan alas 12 ng gabi. But I never knew kung anong reason. Parang ako parati, meron akong kasalanan na naman, no? Hanggang completely, I just ignored.
Ignored it.
I just ignored kung ano man yung akusasyon niya. Wala na akong magagawa. Kaya dasal lang ako ng dasal. Sabi ko, Lord God, I made a mistake in marrying this man. Kasi ganito lang na lang ba ako buong buhay ko? Ganito na lang ba ako? Get me out of this, no? So yun, sinagot ako ng Diyos.
Okay. Ngayon ho, in retirement, Attorney Amy, in retirement is you are fully, well and truly blessed. You are definitely enjoying your retirement in a beautiful house in Sydney, huh? And so,
Yes.
what's your life in retirement like? Para naman ma-inspire
Well,
yung mga
uh,
kababayan natin.
para lang ho, alam mo yung 8 years na nag-suffer ako, ngayon,
Mm.
actually, mag-8 years na kami dito sa bahay. And, you know, I have mostly forgotten my suffering from my
That's right.
ex-husband. No?
Healed na po yung
Yes,
yung trauma.
oo. And, yeah, and that's why I could write about it. And, you know, I
That's
could
right.
forgive
Without-
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can, and I have forgiven him. But of course, I cannot forget. But I want to share with other people kung ano
With other
yung
people
lesson
to learn.
that I have
Yeah.
learned. Yeah.
Mhm.
Para
That's right.
para naman, if they're in that situation, alam nila rin kung ano ang symptoms at ano ang gagawin na nila kaysa
That's
mag-antay
correct.
pa huli ng 8 years na
That's right.
mag-suffer. So ngayon,
Suffer,
no, masayang-masaya ako kasi itong partner ko, ho, si Manny, talagang he looks after me. No?
That's good.
2 years older siya sa akin. Nag-meet kami sa rock and roll dance. And then I found out sa maraming mga rinereto sa akin at nami-meet ko, siya lang ang practicing Catholic na talagang nagsisimba. So ang first, after na nag-meet kami ng doon sa rock and roll, the first time that nag-invite ko siya for coffee, we ended up going to church together. Nagsimba ho kami kasi Sunday.
Oh, yun
No?
ang dating site niyo, ha? The church.
So ano ho, and then na-test ko ho siya na talagang honest, no?
Okay.
So then marami ho kaming activities together, not only dancing once a week. We traveled together. Nung nag-retire ho ako, almost every year nagpupunta kaming Europe. Last year nagpunta kami sa Canada as well at saka sa San Francisco, no? But
Yes.
halos iba-ibang parte ng Europe, we go together we went together every year. And we also go interstate dito, no? Marami rin na rin kaming halos lahat na capital
City.
mga states dito sa Australia, napuntahon na ho namin. And then sumakay na kami sa yung train ho papuntang Alice Springs.
Alice Springs, yeah.
Tsaka yung Canadian Rockies, yung Rocky Mountaineer to the Rocky Mountains in Canada. So at least maski na may travel restriction ho ngayon, napuntahan na namin lahat na gusto namin puntahan. Yung mga little things, mga major things.
That's right. Now, last question po, Attorney Jaime, at medyo naubusan na tayo. Ipapalabas pa natin yung inyong interview with Vice President Lenny. So, are you still actively involved sa advocacy nyo on domestic violence, particularly psychological?
Yes. Recently, I was guest speaker at a webinar organized by the St. Teresa's College in Manila. No, so I gave my my advocacy through Zoom. No, and then UPAA here, University of the Philippines Alumni Association of Australia. Yeah, they also asked me for an article. And so with the UP, the University of the Philippines yearbook, they also asked me for an article. So, you know, I continue to advance my advocacy. And that's why I'm very thankful for you, Fred, for this opportunity. And I will be also, and I will also be available to talk through webinars or, you know, writing articles,
That's right.
to explain further and to help people with those problems on domestic violence.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
so maraming salamat po, Attorney Amy Argel at for visiting us this afternoon. So as I've said to my other guests, this is your first time to be our guest in this virtual talk show, but this will not be the last time you will be invited here. So ano po, just
Thank
keep in
you.
touch and give us a hoy kung meron po kayong importanteng event or happening dyan sa Sydney. You are one of the first community leader from New South Wales that we have invited dito po sa ating programa live from Melbourne. Okay, so
Thank you.
you've done the first. You are the first guest from Sydney, and
I appreciate that. Oh, thank you.
at ang siguro hihingin lang namin favor sa inyo dyan is eventually is we can connect with other leaders of the
Sure.
Filipino community in Sydney. At maraming
Sure.
salamat po, Attorney Argel. So thank you very
Thank
much
you.
po for your sparing this afternoon, your family time, Sunday afternoon for being our guest in this show. Thank you very much po and keep healthy, keep safe, and always be happy. You're well deserved.
Thank you.
Opo. Sige po. And we'll
You
keep in
too.
touch.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Fred.
Attorney Argel.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, yan po si Attorney Imelda Argel, lawyer, community leader, author, and advocate of domestic violence in our community, and a mother. Okay, so naging mapalad din po siya at naging bisita po rin natin ang Philippine Vice President Leni Robredo. So ipakita din po natin yung kanilang short okay. Teka. Mukhang ito po ang naging panauhin po natin ang Vice President Leni Robredo. So atin pong i-share sa inyo.
Sa istorya ng pag-asa ay isang Pilipina na matagal nang dito nakatira. Pero nung nalaman namin yung kanyang kwento, napaka-inspiring. Talagang kwento ng pag-asa. Talagang istorya ng pag-asa dahil malalaman natin sa kanya mamaya, ang pinagdaanan niya hindi talaga matatawaran. Pero sa dami ng sakripisyo pinagdaanan niya, andito siya, very successful, pero hindi niya sinarili yung kanyang success. Yung lahat na nakuha niyang success ay ibinabalik niya lalong-lalo na sa ating mga kababayan. Ang ating pong bisita at ang ating feature, Attorney Imelda Argel. Magandang araw po, Attorney. Magandang araw po, Mr. Presidente. Alam mo, ma'am, programa po ng aming opisina yung Istorya ng Pag-asa. Yung programa po ito, naghahanap kami ng mga Pilipina na inspiring na mga kwento na ang narinig ng ibang siguro dumadaan din sa parehong pinagdaanan ninyo, mabibigyan ng pag-asa kasi kahit napakahirap na pinagdaanan, nalampasan, at hindi lang nalampasan. Pero talagang pinakita na sa huli talagang may pag-asa yun yung nagdadala ng success sa buhay. Yung kwento niyo po nung unang pinaabot sa amin, parang pwede sa pelikula. Ma'am, di ba sa Pilipinas, abogado tayo. Abogado tayo, talagang makulit na UP Law graduate, maganda yung practice nila. Matagal kayo yung practice, corporate law, kabahagi kayo ng isang sikat na law firm. Pero pinalikuran
Nung iba yung lakad ng aking marriage, it was not right. Dahil kailangan ayusin ko for my son.
Pero basically, ma'am, yung marriage mo talaga yung parang tulak sa'yo para iwanan yung otherwise very promising na career mo sa Manila. Para pumunta sa Australia, kanina nakwento mo na nung pumunta ka dito, wala kang trabaho, hindi mo pa alam kung saan pagtungo. Talagang nagsimula ka sa umpisa. Yung dahilan doon, dahil sa marriage.
That's correct. Talagang maganda ang buhay ko sa Pilipinas. Sabi ng mga klase ko, bakit ka pa umalis? It was a very enviable job. I was vice president of a multinational company, general counsel of the regional Eisenberg group of companies. Mr. Eisenberg, the owner of the whole group of companies, was the sixth richest man in the world. Dumadating siya, nagbibisita siya in 36 countries.
So, ang grande ka
Ang
na.
grande kasal sa barrio de San Antonio, na San Jose, and hindi ka virgin. So, paano mo ma-prove na hindi ka virgin? I have to give my son a new environment, a new future, because most of the sa Pilipinas, alam mo naman, they look down on the children of broken families. At saka, nag-start na siyang iyak-iyak, napipiko na sa eskwela, kasi ba naman sasabihin, nasaan yung papa mo? Bakit hindi
Kasi
naman
hindi siya nag-attend naman.
bakit kami naghiwalay? Kasi, I'm sure na umalis ako sa Pilipinas, madaling sabihin na, ayan, ako yung mistress. Wala na ako doon to defend myself. O kaya madaling sabihin nila na, kasi abogada, siya yung, siya yung inaakin niya yung asawa niya, mga ganon. But I will not be there to defend myself. Parang mataas na sa sekretarya.
Yung parang legal, parang ikaw yung tagagawa ng ayaw gawin ng mga abogado. Ano yung pakiramdam at ganun na nagpa-paralegal ka?
Well, talagang malaki yung bayaw, pinipin niya yun at sabi niya dito ko mag-apply. Sigurado na ito for you because you can go straight to President Ramos. Na-prove mo na yan. So, well, nung sabi sa akin, kasi yung mother niya, makulit. Hindi ko sana asikasuhin na, no? Marami naman ako na trabaho, pero sige na, ganun siya. So, pinagbigyan ko. Ako nung malaman ko na it was positive because they amended the country profile of the Philippines. Country educational profile.
Kasalanan, tapos tatanungin mo kung
ano bang ginawa ko?
Masama ba ako?
Oo.
Ito, pag nandito ka, ano yung nagpalakas ulit sa loob?
Well, first of all, klaro naman ang konsensya ko na wala akong ginagawang
Yung
mata.
accusation sa iyo.
Oo. Hindi ko lang maintindihan kung bakit marami siyang mga accusations. There must be a reason na hindi ko naintindihan. And that is what I tried to find out.
So yun yung ano, no? Parang to understand na mas matatanggap mo yung mga sitwasyon. Pag naiintindihan mo kung bakit siya
affected doon sa sinalikuran ko yung loveless marriage.
Ay hindi naman sa ina-encourage natin yung mga pero sinasabi lang natin yung choice marami na.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's a choice and it's really up to you.
what you want to achieve in life. And ito siguro ito last na talaga kasi overtime na tayo, pero yung last na talaga. May sinabi ka sa akin before the interview started. Tinatanong kita how your son is. Tapos kinukwento mo na hindi siya nagkaroon ng, parang hindi nagkaroon ng negative effect. Hindi nagkaroon ng negative effect. Saan mo ba yung mga attribute? Yung sa akin, I can only guess na siguro dahil nakita niya na matatanda, kaya kumuha siya ng lakas. Para sa'yo, ano ba yun?
Well, yes, by example, and also I give him the confidence that I will never leave him alone, and I'll always be there no matter what. No?
Kaya, ano siya, sabi mo yung he's 40 years old now, very successful, hindi naging masama sa kanya, yung naging decision.
Yes, I'm very happy with it.
So, maraming salamat, Imelda. Yung kwento mo, guys, sabi ko pwede sa pelikula. Pero maraming salamat sa inspirasyon na binibigay mo sa amin lahat. Maraming salamat sa pag-asa.
Maraming salamat, Vice
At
President.
ito, siguro finally, maraming salamat for representing the best in the Philippines dito sa Australia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.